Thank you, Erwin. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Ed, for the eulogy and the history. Thank you. Maybe you got one of my sheets. I hope you did. Anyway, just brief background how I became a publisher. When I was 25 years old, I wrote a little 16-page manuscript called What is God? Okay, I was a hippie. I'd come back from India. And took me 15 years to find a publisher. Oh yeah. So I had over 100 rejection slips. Maybe you know the story, right? From agents and publishers and editors. And I was in Hollywood at a place called La Masia, and there was this drunken Dutchman sitting next to me, and I had spoken a little Dutch because I was a draft dodger too. I have a long sordid history. And he ended up being my publisher, this drunken, red-faced Dutchman, after 15 years of trying to go the legitimate route. And then he published me. I was very happy about it. And then he sold me out without telling me to a Canadian publisher. Publishing business can be kind of venal also. Anyway, I did manage to get some royalties, and after that experience, trying to publish my second book in the series called What is Love, I had two agents in New York City, powerful ladies, real agents, and they were having a lot of trouble selling the second book after my first book had become very successful, in fact, and they kind of gave up. They said, I don't know what to do, Etan, you know, it's a great book, we love your book. So at that point, I had a business partner, and I said, hey, what is it to publishing? If we could break it down, what is it to publishing? Well, you write a book, you print the book, and you sell the book. So I said, I think I could do that. You know, I could write a book, I could take a credit card and pay for the book, and I could somehow sell the book. And that's how I became a publisher, basically. I published 15 of my own children's books. They're now published in 16 languages. So that's how I became an expert on foreign rights sales as well. And then people started coming to me saying, hey, how do you do this? And I started charging them for my expertise. And that's how I come to be in front of you today, in short. Okay? So now Erwin has mentioned some of the big trade shows. Book Expo America, which is at the Javits Center in New York City every year. That's the largest trade show in North America. Then you have Guadalajara, which is the largest trade show of all of South America, in Guadalajara, which is the second largest city in Mexico. You have the Tokyo International Book Fair. You have the Frankfurt Book Fair. In June, Patricia and I are going to the Seoul International Book Fair. We've been to the Gothenburg, which is the largest, most important one in Sweden. Okay, and then of course the London Book Fair, Frankfurt Book Fair. I must be leaving out one or two. The Taipei. Yes? Hey on Why. Which one is that?
Big whales.
Oh, well, I'm talking about trade shows. I'm talking about not festivals. Okay, the LA Times Book Festival, we were just at the Tucson Book Festival. This is for the public. Okay, what I'm talking about is the Beijing International Book Fair, where the public comes in on the third day. They allow, but the first 2 or 3 days will be the professional trade, people like ourselves, publishers. Now, so let's say you actually go and you want to buy a ticket to Frankfurt, which I don't suggest is a good idea because all the hotels are booked for a year in advance, etc. And what are you going to do when you get to Frankfurt, right? So you have your book. Now, may I ask, are there some authors who have traditional publishing contracts? We have one lady here. Traditional publishing contracts. Okay, I'm talking about the big five, who you know, Macmillan, you know, Hachette, HarperCollins, who else? The other two.
Simon Schuster.
Yes, Simon Schuster and Random House, Penguin Random House. Okay, those are transnational companies. They own about 900 publishing houses or 1,000 publishing houses between them. So if you have a traditional publisher, you have a contract. And you would read that contract and you would see what's in there. What did I sell? What did I give up to this publisher? Did I give up foreign rights? Did I give up movie rights? Did I give up merchandising rights? TV rights? What kind of rights have I sold here? Okay, and you should clear this.
Lawyer.
Yeah, you should either be a lawyer or just The simple answer is I'm only selling book rights. I'm not selling you anything else. Okay, if you want something else, you're going to have to pay me more. I'm going to talk to, as you said, a copyright attorney or an intellectual property rights attorney. So most of the people in this room, including myself, I do not have a traditional publishing contract, so I own the rights. I own the right for someone else to copy my work. That's called the copyright, correct? So I can go to China and try to find a publisher or a Chinese agent and say, I would like to sell the rights for another publisher to publish my books in Chinese, which I have done. And I've also sold bilingual edition rights, which is Chinese English rights, which is a separate right, okay? So if you are going into the foreign markets, there are various types of rights. And now I'm working with a POD publisher in China who has a very interesting model where they will take our books and they will sell them POD in English, okay? And they've got major distributors now like Ingram and Baker and Taylor working with them on this market. China is a place you want to be. There's a lot of money in China. There's a lot of money in China.
Can you trust them?
Yes, you can trust them unless you're the author of The Lion King or Frozen, okay? Because people ask me that question, don't you have any fear of piracy? I say, I wish they would pirate my book, in fact, because that would mean I'm a major success internationally. But me, little Etan Boritzer with his 15 children's books, who have sold almost 1 million copies, I'm still like, a speck. Okay, we're talking about a country of 1.4 billion people. And one of the first things they told me, my hosts, when I got to China the first time, they said, by the way, do you know that we have more English-speaking people in this country than you have in your country? Yeah, if you think about it, we've got 300 or 335 English-speaking people. Some are marginal. Okay, so that's like 1/5 of their population that speaks English, and they speak English very well. I wish I could speak Chinese as well as, my associates in China. So now you go to, let's say you actually do show up, or you're actually planning to go to Frankfurt or Guadalajara, go to Berkeley, one of these international, and how are you going to get in? Number one. Okay, so at BEA in New York City, you're going to pay, the last I looked, it was $50 a day. Okay, so you got to pay to play. That's just the rules. You got to pay to play. And it might be further. You got to get to New York City too. You got to get a hotel. So you have to have that mentality, pay to play. I'm a gambler. I'm investing. I own an art gallery for 20 years. I had some money when I quit to go into publishing at the age of 53. My parents would go, I'm like, what? What are you going to do? You're going to sell children's books? What? Are you going to give up the gallery? But anyway, at that point, I had a little extra money from the sale, and I asked a friend who had he had a pool. He was an investor and had a pool of people. I said, hey, Hugh, his name was, what if I gave you like $40,000 and you put it on IBM, for me? Would that be good? He said, no, Etan, what you should do is put $40,000 on yourself. That would be your best investment. You're going to make more money, and you'll know where your money is at all times, and you won't be worried about it. So pay to play is that point of that story. Okay, so now you go, all right, let's say we're talking about BEA. It's pretty much the same of any of these big fairs. Now you get in the door. Now what do? Where are you going to go? You want to do what? You want to sell rights to your book? Okay, so where are you going to go? Well, where the rights sales are going on is in the rights hall. There's a hall, okay? And there are little tables, about a quarter of the size of each of these tables, and each rights agents, the ones from Sweden, the ones from Norway, the ones from England, the ones from every country in the world, each have their own little rights table. So what do you think? They're just going to let everybody in the rights hall? Hey, I got a book. Would you like to see my book? Do you have an appointment? No. And anyway, who are you? No, you haven't registered it as a rights agent. Okay, so first thing you want to do is see if you could register. You contact the BEA as a rights agent. And in some of these places there are fees, in some of the places there are not fees. Like Guadalajara, they even paid for our hotel for the rights agents. All right, so that's the first thing you want to do is see if you can get a rights table. That gets you in the door, because you won't get in the door if you're just an author or you have a day pass. Even if you're a publisher, you will not get in the door. So you need to get to the rights hall. Now you're in the rights hall, everyone's talking to each other. There's very few people who are just sitting there alone waiting for you with your magnum opus to come in, right? And rush to buy the rights for that particular language. By the way, I mentioned that my books are in 16 languages, so you know you have to get a hold of these rights agents before they get to New York City, and you have to make an appointment with them. All right, and that's what the publishers are doing. They're making appointments with these international rights agents, and the publishers are trying to sell rights, and the agents are trying to sell rights. Okay, so it's like this little thing going on here, this little dance. I'll buy yours if you buy mine, kind of thing, right? Where am I? Yes, I'm in the rights hall now. Everyone's talking, and I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do there, right? So the first thing I do is I start dropping off my sell sheet. Does anybody have a sell sheet here? How many people have a sell sheet? May I see? I know you all have books. Raise your hand. What is a sell sheet? Willa, please tell them. What is a sell sheet?
It's a sheet that describes your book, the price, the ISBN number,
Yeah, a little bit about the author, a description of your book, some reviews. Sometimes what we do when we do sell sheets for our authors, and we'll put a little coupon so you could just put in your credit card and order the book, etc. So you need a sell sheet, all right? If you don't know what it is, my cards are over there. I charge a little fee, but that's the commercial part of it. You have my information. I'll help you with any of what I'm talking about right now. So the first thing you do when you're in the rights hall, if you got in the rights hall without being a rights agent or registered as a rights agent, and I've done that as well. You just have to be a sneaky fuck, figure out how to do this. But there are ways to do it. It just depends on how determined you are to get in there. And then the first thing you're going to do is start dropping off the seeds, all around the tables. Depends on how ballsy you are, really. I mean, what if there's 3 people and they're all in suits and ties, by the way, okay? This is the business. $26 billion in the U.S. alone, the book publishing business, okay? So everyone's wearing a suit and a tie. And they're having serious conversation about serious money over there. And now you're coming in and going, hi, you may like to see my book? Right. So at least, how ballsy are you? If they're having a conversation and they're deep in it, they're going to say, hi, I'm sorry to bother you, but here's the information about my book. We're selling the rights. I don't know. This is, I believe, how I've been successful is like Erwin. Where are you, Erwin? He's not even listening. He has no shame, right? He's a shameless hussy. In a sense, if you want to sell books, and somebody was saying that too, I'm just the author, I'm the creative person. Well, why aren't you creative when you stop being the author and start being creative in your marketing? Right. You're ballsy in your art, right? That's your job as an artist, as a writer, is to go to not even the edge of the envelope, to go way off the envelope, right? So why do you stop when it comes to marketing yourself? Why is your imagination door closed down and go, I don't know. This is my agent over here. This is my publisher. Talk to them. So you got to be ballsy. You got to get in the rights hall. Now, let's say you actually find somebody who's sitting there. Do you have a minute? I just want to tell you about my book, or my 3 books, whatever they are. And they go, yeah, who are you? My name is Etan Boritzer. I have a series of 15 children's books. Do you have a minute? I'd like to just tell you about it because they've been published in a few other languages. Okay, well, yeah, I get 10 minutes before my next appointment. Okay. I don't know how I did this, but I got a seat across from this woman, and she's Japanese, but her English is very good. And now, yes, these look interesting, yeah. And so, what are you looking for? I'm looking to sell rights. Yeah, well, yeah, that's why you're here. But what are you looking for? Now, this is very important. If you have a piece of paper with you or a pen, I would like you all to write this down, because there is what is called an international foreign rights formula for selling your book, all right? And it basically goes like this. You have to get from the publisher what is the print run, what is the initial print run of the book. Let's say it's 10,000. So if she's asking me, well, what are you looking for? I'm going to say to her, well, if you like these books, I know you can't make a decision right here, but what would be a small number that you would print of these books? You say, well, we'd probably start with 5,000 because nobody knows you in Japan, So we might start with 5,000. Okay, so now I have a number. This is the first part of the formula, is the number of books they're going to print. And, in the U.S., we sell these books for $15 US. What do you think you could sell it for in yen? It's good if you know currency, too, if you know currency exchanges, so you know what she's saying next is, okay, so it's about 100 yen, I think, about now to a US dollar. Okay, so she's going to say 1,500 yen. Okay, so now you get your second number. So it's 5,000 times 1,500 yen equals, I don't know, I don't have my calculator. Do you guys have a calculator? 75 something.
$15.
15, yeah, okay, you could say it like this, $15 times 5,000, right, is about what, 75,000? $75,000. Well, that doesn't go to you, so don't get excited, all right? Okay, don't get excited, because here's the tricky part of the formula, the royalty percentage. Okay, so what kind of percentage are you looking for, Mr. Boritzer? We're looking for 10%. Well, we never do 10%. Okay, well, what do you guys do? We might do 6% for a new author, like we're bringing in for you into this country. 6%? Are you kidding? In China, they're giving me 7.5, which is really not true, of course. I'm just saying, this is business. So, all right, so, no, in China, they give me 6%. And let me tell you, I don't know if you speak Yiddish, but it's bupkis. Okay, I mean, just one aside, in China, my books are going for 20 RMB, and there's 7 RMB in $1, so it's less than $3, and I'm getting 6% of $3 per book. But when they're publishing 80,000 books, that does come up to a nice number, and then I'll tell you more in a minute how we receive that number. All right, but this is the formula that you should understand. All right, otherwise you're going to turn it over. You could turn it over to a rights agent, which I'll talk about in a second too. And then so you're negotiating now, or your agent is negotiating now, that little number, somewhere between 10% and 5%. You're trying to get it up, they're trying to keep it low, etc. That is the basic rights formula. Now, whatever that number turns out to be, when you do get the contract in fantasy land, when you do get the contract, how are you going to get paid? Okay, I don't want to get paid in the traditional way that publishers pay, once a year or biannual. They send you a sales report, which, who knows, I mean, whether it's an American or a Chinese or a Turkish publisher, we don't know. So what am I going to do when the contract comes? We're going to have in the contract that the royalty, whatever percentage it's come to now, 7%, whatever that number is at the end of the formula, we're going to get that 100% in advance. Not 10%, 100% in advance. Why? Because we don't trust you.
Right.
Period. And we don't care who you are.
Can you explain that?
Who? Say again?
You're getting 100% of your royalty.
100% of the royalty up front. Period.
So 6%.
That is the way it is done internationally. If anybody else tells you, that is not the way it is done internationally. And you lie. My book is published in 15 languages, and every one of those contracts has been paid to me 100% in advance. This is not a fantasy. This is the reality. Yes, sir.
So if they sell more than what you were advanced, is there additional revenue?
There's no trail, brother. There ain't no trail. If my publisher says their first run is 8,000 books, 8,000 copies of each title, what am I going to do? Go to China and see if they printed 9,000 of each? I can't. I just have to rely on that. But I have been, my experiences, for instance, in China have been completely honest. Okay, have been scrupulously honest, I would say. The only bad guys are the CCP.
You're on stage.
No.
What's the
One of the
CCP?
things I'm not a Trumpite, but at least he's tried to level the playing field, because what I was going to say next is that when the publisher sends me that 100% in dollars, okay, goes to my bank account, guess who reaches in and takes 16% out of that? The CCP,
What's
Chinese
CCP?
Communist Party, also known as the Chinese government, also known as don't mess with me. And don't talk about Tibet, and don't talk about the Dalai Lama. You're fine. Don't criticize the CCP. And anyway, so where was I? Right. So now you got your 100%, you got your 84% of the deal in your bank account. Now what happens next? Let me keep talking, because Erwin, you took up all my time. So okay, what? People keep raising their hands.
Just one question.
Yes,
Do
quick
you
question.
sell the rights for a period of time?
Yes, 5-year term. And the second thing, where the second part of the answer was what you asked, what if they sell more than that original 8,000? Well, we have a provision. If you go into a second printing, then, whatever that number is of the second printing, our percentage, our royalty goes up 1%. Instead of 7.5, I'm supposed to get 8.5. That's what I'm hoping for. They might just say, okay, we're giving you 7.5, we'll give you 8% on the second printing, etc. So that's also in your original rights contract as well. Let's see, where was I? Okay, so now you got the money in the bank. Put your hands down. Let's just ask questions. Hold the question.
Without the money in the bank, it's not a way of tracking how much overage.
No. You're just being paid for the first printing. You're not being paid. The second printing, they're going to send you another contract. Second printing, they will send you another contract. Hope you're following it, but anyway, we'll keep going. So now the money's in the bank. Now what? Now we have to send the files electronically to the publisher. Because we don't send the files until you send the money. Okay? There's no recourse, right? So it's got to be all up front like this on my side. I'm the seller, it's got to be my way. Except where they can negotiate, like I said, with the print run or the royalty percentage. And then from there, it's up to them. So they've changed my covers. They do what they want, and they change the trim size of the book. It's their market, so I'm not going to tell them how to sell. they can sell. So at a certain point, this one publisher, Hunan Juvenile and Children's Publishing, they bought 7 of the 15 books as a series, and believe it or not, they have a version. They have 3 versions of Amazon, but one of them is called Dang Dang. And after about 2 years, I had about 17,000 5-star reviews on this set. And then after the 5-year period, they were very happy with sales, so they renewed the contract, and they took all 15 books and created a set of 15 books. So this can be very lucrative. You know, this foreign rights game can be very lucrative. But again, I went to the Beijing International Book Fair. I found Mrs. Wu, my agent up there. She liked the books. We went back and forth, and she found the publisher there, and then through another person who became my friend and an agent. Now, what do you pay the agent? Right? Let's say you're not going to BEA, or you're not going to Frankfurt, or you're not going to any of these big trade shows, so you're going to have an agent. Now, how do you find the agent? You go through that Bible, the Writer's Digest. You go through the Bible, or you just go Google foreign rights agent, or if you have a particular language group that you like, okay, let's say Russian, you'd put Russian foreign rights agent, foreign book rights agents, and you'll get a list of agents, and then you try to contact them on your own. You don't need an agent to contact the agent. Although we do have agents working together. I have an agent actually in Washington State, and she was working with a Turkish agent, and my books got published in Turkey. So traditionally, you're going to pay your foreign rights agent 10 to 15%. Again, it's what you negotiate, all right? Some of them I'm paying 10%, some of them I'm paying 15%. But if she needs to work with her associate in Turkey, or she needs to work with her associate in Sao Paulo, or one of the other places where we published, I've even had my books published in Bosnia. I mean, it's unlimited. The world is unlimited, really. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So I've had 2 Muslim countries translating my books into their language, Turkish and Bosnian. This is kind of a Slavic, Serbian type of language. So when there's 2 rights agents working together, traditionally you're paying 20%, they're splitting 10 and 10 between them. What else can I tell you?
Do you negotiate that with each one of them?
Well, you try, yeah. I mean, she might just say, okay, we take 15%.
Or does
So are you going to argue about, see, my thing is I don't negotiate about nothing. Right now I've done nothing. So what am I negotiating with you about? You know, thank you for saying you'll take my book to the Bologna Children's Book Fair, which I've been to too, and which is also very expensive, and you can't frickin' get a hotel room except like 40 kilometers outside of Bologna. You know, you might as well stay in Venice and commute. But anyway, so yeah, and Gothenburg. I can tell you stories about each one of these, like Guadalajara. Okay, so let's say you're going to these places. The other thing you can do besides trying to break into the rights hall or registering yourself as a rights agent, and you could just say, yeah, this is Harry Smith, and I'm with the Wildflower Publishing Company. Whoever you are, they're not going to investigate you, and you can probably get a rights agent's table. You get in India. We had a rights at the Delhi World Book Fair. We went there and had a rights table there.
Do you pay for that?
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. You know, in Frankfurt and London and the really big Western ones, I didn't pay at those. I didn't have rights tables at those places. But in Guadalajara, I had a rights table, and they didn't charge us, and they gave us 2 nights in a hotel. Also, yeah, that was surprising. And how did I get this is an interesting story in Guadalajara. How did I get my Spanish publisher? Okay, I'm trying to remember 2 things that I want to tell you, but how I got her, Susana Franco was her name. And again, you got to be really ballsy. So when you walk into the bathroom around there, or you're walking around, have your book in your, just walk around like this. No, I'm telling you, you gotta be crazy. You gotta be crazy to even publish your own book, but then to sell your book, you're gonna have to be maybe a little crazier. And we're just going down in the elevator, and there's like 4 or 5 people in this elevator, and go, "Hi, I'm Etan Boritzer from Los Angeles, and I'm selling my children's books rights here. Is anybody interested?" I did this in the elevator. I swear to you. And this woman goes, "Yeah, I'd like to talk to you." And that was her. And she sold the rights to Santillana, which is a major Spanish publisher in Spain, but they have offices, they have their own houses in Mexico and Colombia and different areas. And so she was able to sell the rights to 6 of my books there in Mexico City to Santillana. So you don't know where you're going to meet your rights agent. The other way to do it, this is what I wanted to remember, if you're not in the rights hall, is just to go around and check out the publishers, okay? Go into the main halls and check out the publishers. You could do this at BEA, but you're not gonna find foreign rights there, obviously. But if you go to Guadalajara, you go to one of these foreign trade shows, you're going to find the foreign publishers are there, and they're doing business. They've all got their suits on, and they speak Spanish. And so I hired a woman. My Spanish is okay, but I hired a woman there and paid her. In Japan, I hired a woman to help me also. We'll probably have to hire somebody in Korea as well. In India, I had an associate who I paid. So these people will help you. Just one second. Let me just finish this. So then you're walking around and you just get in their face. I'm from the Bronx, New York, so this is not that foreign to me to do these things. But okay. So you fake it till you make it.
Right.
But then you walk up and buenos días. Yo soy un editorial de Estados Unidos, de Los Ángeles. Pregunta si es posible hablar con nuestros libros. But she could say it a lot better. But if I had to say it, they understand. We speak perfect English. You can, so that makes it easier too. But again, you got to get in their faces first, and they're looking formidable, with their suits, and they're busy talking, and then you're popping in out of nowhere, from outer space. So that's another way to do it. You're lugging your book with you, or a few copies of your book. They don't want to take it with you, but you have your sell sheet. And at least they have a nice pictorial of what you're doing if they don't want to take the book. And you have your business cards. And then, you try to get, because they're not interested in buying. Remember, these publishers are there to sell. And now I'm a seller trying to sell to a seller. Okay, so yes, all right, I'll take your question.
You started this saying about how many of you are traditionally published. So does this theory also apply to the self-published?
This is all about self-publishing, independent publishing. I make a distinction. There are all these kinds of names out there. I'm an independent publisher now because I've taken on a lot of other authors, so I've become an independent publisher, but I started out self-publishing my books. And this is what I try to inculcate in my workshops on how to get your book published, is that remember Louise Hayes, remember Louise Hayes?
I know Louise.
Self-published. Mark Twain, Walt Whitman, Allen Ginsberg, what's the guy, Kobayashi, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? You know that book?
Robert Kiyosaki.
No one knows it. None of you know it. But who really knows? Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki. Thank you. He published his own book first, but his intent was I'm gonna print 1,000 copies and I'm gonna find a major publisher and sell them. So the answer is this applies to independents, or what you might call if you only have one book, etc. So that's the guerrilla warfare that you must do on your own.
I got confused because I read your book, What is God?
Oh,
And
thank
I know
you.
that,
Thank
I
you.
did talk
Appreciate
to you
that.
about it afterwards.
Okay.
And I know that was traditionally published.
Eventually, yes, but then I I can't go into that, but I had a big fight with my Canadian publisher who it was sold out from under me. It's another long story, but let me skip that story. But yeah, it got, and but what I want to get back to is what this lady over here, what is your name?
Sarita.
Sarita, she has a contract with a traditional publisher, someone who gave her 10% advance and is sending her royalty reports and should be helping her with publicity and that's another story. That's another story. So in that regard, it depends what's in your contract, what I said in the beginning. Is that publisher, did you have a clause in there that says you, the publisher, can represent me in foreign rights sales and you get this and I get that if you do sell. So what they're doing is the same thing that I'm doing is they're getting a rights agent in Turkey, they're getting a rights agent in Brazil for Portuguese, they're doing the same thing that I'm doing. So basically what we've done, most of the people in this room, is we've cut out the middleman. And we can do it today. That's what's so amazing. You know, we can do it today. You're well, at least semi-intelligent Americans sitting in here, right? We can all figure out how to find a rights agent. We can all buy a ticket, you know, to wherever that particular book fair, not fair, that trade show is. All right, and the other thing is, now talking about LA Times Festival of Books, you're not going to find rights agents over there, you know, but you might find some foreigners. And foreigners have helped me, you know, to get my books published. In fact, it was a German foreigner. I told you, I think I mentioned I owned an art gallery, and this woman just came in. She was looking at art, and she was dressed rather nicely, and I speak a little German, so I engaged her, and it turned out that I had a few children's books. I was already starting my own publishing business while I still owned the gallery, and that lady was in south of Frankfurt. She became my German publisher. So again, you have to be brazen in this. Even if you're going to, like we said, the LA Times Festival of Books, maybe there's some well-dressed foreigners walking around. You say, hey, do you know any publishers in Mexico by any chance? You know? That's good. All right, so I'll take some questions. I covered in very general with some anecdotal. If there's questions, we still have some time.
10 more minutes.
10 more minutes, okay.
Do you have to do anything for the international copyright, secure trademarks, international copyright? Or do you have to do anything
Your
for that?
ISBN is your book registry, but your copyright is your copyright. Yeah.
Do you have to
No,
fill out
I've
a
never
form?
had that issue because
Okay.
what we have in the contract itself is that they have to put copyright Etan Boritzer by arrangement with Veronica Lane Books in the copyright page. But again, copyright is the right to copy, and I wish they would pirate me, is what I was saying originally. So I don't worry about that, but I get that question a lot. Okay,
Do you have
so you
to-
don't have to worry about the copyright.
Do you pay for the copyright with the government, with the U.S. copyright
I
form?
pay, the $55.
Yeah.
Everyone does that,
Yeah.
right? You all know that, right? I hope. Okay. You had a question. Yeah, that's the great part. They don't want Americans translating Chinese, you know? So yeah, they do everything.
And who looks at it and looks it over to make sure that it's...
Well, in China, I have a very good friend who's also my agent, and he told me they did a very good job. You know, you'd be happy. But my Chinese is very lacking. So, but yeah, that's a good question. You don't know. You just hope. Well, you presume that they understand the spirit of the book. Otherwise, they wouldn't buy the book. And that they're going to try to be as true as possible. But one thing that's happened to me also in regards to the translation is that they've changed illustrators on me. So when I sell the rights, I'm sending the whole file, the text and the illustration. And the Germans told me, well, we'd like the illustrations to be more German-like. And my agent said, really? What, they should be wearing lederhosen, the children? You know, what's more German-like or more Japanese-like, right? So, but they have, and it's become interesting to me. I didn't fight it. It was just interesting to me to see another artist interpret my book. Yes, question.
So, my opinion's always been that authors sell books,
Yes, that's my mantra.
and like now, it's so large for, anyway, in my experience, social media is such a big part of
Sure.
media. How do you accentuate that in foreign markets?
Well, that's another talk, okay? But let me give you an example how powerful social media is. Patricia and I were, when was it? June. Last June, we were invited to Kharkiv, Ukraine. If you ever been to Kharkiv, very interesting place. Second largest city in Ukraine. And how the hell did we get to Kharkiv, which is 40 kilometers from the Russian border, 200 kilometers from where the fighting is going on with the Russians and the Ukrainians? How the hell did we get there? Sir, this is the answer. I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook, okay? And I'm an interesting guy. Find me. And I put up interesting posts, and they're not only about publishing. Anyway, out of nowhere, sir, a Ukrainian woman said, would you be open to having your books published in Ukraine? I swear to God. I did not know this person. I don't think she was my friend or anything. And I said, yes, in fact, I would. I don't know, what is Ukraine? And, but that's how 4 of my books were published in Ukraine. And then they invited us over and they paid for us to be at this educational conference. And we met the wife of the prime minister. And there's other possibilities, even in a small market like that. Ukraine, and that's the other important thing. If you're going to choose which book trade show you want to go to the ones where you can actually make money. Okay, so Gothenburg, Sweden, the krona is very valuable. Okay, the Japanese yen is very valuable. So you'll make more money going to a place like that than you will, without being in any denigrating way, to go to the South American market. In China, as I said, you're getting that much, but you're getting volumes of that much. So again, you want to pick where you're going to go. You might just try BEA. I mean, go to New York. It's fun. I'm from there, and I left 50 years ago. It's still fun. Yes.
When is the one in Guadalajara?
I don't know the dates. Just look it up. Guadalajara. It's just book fair. Guadalajara book fair. Just look it up. Yes.
Okay. If you had a book published legitimately through, like my wife does, you
Legitimate. You're talking traditional publishing.
Traditional,
We're
yeah.
all legitimate,
I didn't mean that.
except this.
She gets back the rights. Do we market it the same way you would
You mean the term is over with your traditional
Yeah.
publisher, whatever, 5 years, and you have all the rights back?
Yeah.
And just go at it. Sell TV rights, sell everything you can, merchandise, bobbleheads, whatever you can sell. Just, Repeat the question, please. Did you always? Okay, you're on top of it. So I'm going to start repeating the questions. Did you hear his question? No. Okay, I will repeat the question. The question was, his wife got the rights back after she had signed a traditional publishing contract for probably 5 years, correct? 5 years. So 5 years expired, whatever happened, they didn't renew. And this is a bad thing about traditional publishing, by the way. What if you actually do get a publishing deal, right? And you're so happy you get your 10% advance. By the way, read carefully in your traditional publishing contract about that 10% advance, because sometimes you have to give parts of it back. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. So it ain't, you talk to this lady. Okay, I can't get into that too much. But once you have the rights back, then yes, then you can sell anything you can sell with that. There was a guy came to me wanted to do plush toys based on a little white poodle we had in there, and just do a plush toy shrink wrapped with one of the books. So we said yes, but he didn't. You could go licensing, okay? Maybe the Smurfs. I mean, some we were at the licensing expo in Las Vegas, all right, and people are buying rights. Like I met a Belgian guy. He was very happy. He had bought the rights to use the Smurfs, you know, the Smurfs with the blue, on his Belgian cookies packaging. So he bought the rights to that. He bought the right. So you might even be able to sell rights to your characters. Okay, like everybody else does. Harley Davidson, everybody sells rights to their products. Anyway, once you know all the possibilities, not only foreign rights, but that there's a whole other universe that you can do with your books as an independent. Okay, yes, sir, Mr. Goldstein.
Yeah, when you're selling the foreign rights to your books,
Yes.
are you basically selling the book, print, or are you also foreign rights to other media?
No, you're selling one thing at a time. Oh, sorry. The question is, when you're selling foreign rights, are you only selling book rights? Or are you selling other media rights, like ebooks? No, ebooks are separate than print books. If they want to buy ebooks, that's a separate deal. So in Guadalajara, I actually met a Spanish ebook publisher, and that's all that he wanted to purchase. He did not want to purchase print rights. So now, if that's a dual-edged sword. Like, what if there's a larger print publisher, but they also want to purchase ebook rights? Me, I'm like the bird in the hand person. Yeah, I just go wherever, it's all God to me. So whatever is brought to me, I just say yes. Okay, and then later we'll worry about the print publisher wanting ebook rights. Maybe I'll introduce Danielle Pineda to this guy over here. Maybe they could work out a deal. You got to be so creative. You got to allow, again, that's what I was saying. Remember, your creativity, not just writing your book, but your creativity in going out and selling your book. And I just was talking to one client. I hate selling. I said, do you know neurolinguistics? He said, yeah, I know neuro. So why don't you use the word sharing?
That's right.
Isn't it neurolinguists in a way,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
All right, so who else?
So Veronica,
Yes, 2 more minutes.
Melinda.
Melinda.
Erwin. Think Nick's on over there.
Ed, talk to me, baby.
so Veronica Lane Books, which is you.
I'm Veronica. They always say, where's Veronica? I'm Veronica.
The service that you also provide, which
Yes.
I've noticed that not many other publishers who provide this service for the foreign rights and other rights.
Yes.
Some of these publishing houses they just want to.
No, they will. I mean, what's your name again? Sarita. Question is, I'm sorry, Ed.
You're publishing a book, you need to self-publish, okay? And what do you look out for the foreign rights?
You? Are you talking about me, you, or you?
Versus the average writer.
What are you looking out for in selling the foreign rights?
Because a lot of that's not even discussed.
Well, that's what I'm discussing
That's what you
tonight.
said, the questions you ask, how many publishers, what the royalty is.
I'm sorry, Ed. What is the full question?
The question is, how many other publishers are providing the service that you do?
All of them. Because foreign rights is lucrative. It's unlimited. What are there, 200 countries? You can publish, I almost got my books published in Icelandic. Think about it. There's, yeah.
The point is, I have clients that have signed with publishers, paid money for self-publishing. Never was the foreign rights even brought up by these publishing houses.
Well, those guys are stupid. I mean, because that's a very lucrative market.
Excuse me,
Yes, sir.
can I introduce?
Yes.
In most cases, traditional publishers do not mention the ancillary rights, and it's assumed in most publishing contracts that when you sell the rights to your book, that they assume
There's
all
no
the rights.
assumption in
It has
contracts,
to
my
be written
friend.
out. It has to all be written out.
I can't tell you how many times I met authors whose ancillary rights were taken because the contract didn't specifically say that the author retains them. It says that they acquire global rights to the property, and then the author loses ancillary rights.
Yeah, well, that's someone who's stupid. and someone who hasn't read the contract or someone who hasn't consulted an attorney.
And that's the
Okay,
word
if
global.
you're dealing with these foxes, and they're large foxes, okay, and if you don't spend an extra whatever $200 to talk to an attorney about that contract, you might be duped. That's true. Yeah. I'm not saying, and that happened to me, honestly, and with this first publisher. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just so happy after 15 years that somebody was going to, we didn't even have a contract. And then all of a sudden he had sold me out, and he walked away with $10,000 and I got nothing. And then I had to go yell at these Canadians and, hey, I'm the author. You don't have my right to publish these books. You know, and who's this guy? This Dutch crazy guy. So yes, I'm a victim of that naivete. And that was, you might get desperate and you just go, yeah, take whatever you want. It does happen if you're desperate.
Is that why you then formed Veronica Lane?
That's what I got so fed up with. I had really good agents in New York who were trying to go the traditional route. And I had been burned already on the traditional route. And I said, excuse me, F it. And that's when I came up with that formula. Write the book, print the book, sell the book. Wait a minute, guys, let me listen here. I'm sorry.
Do you make more money now doing all of these?
Not only do I make more money, first of all, I keep 100%. If somebody buys my book tonight, I keep 100% of that. So I'm making more money. I have all the creative control because, especially as a children's book author, they don't want your illustrations. And that was why I fell out with my first publisher. I had already paid $5,000 to the illustrator, and they said, yeah, we like the book, Etan, but the illustrations, we're going to have to redo those. I said, what? I just paid for those, and they're the same illustrator that is the first book, and they said, well, that's what we're going to do. If you don't like it, you don't have to sign the contract. All right, he's kicking me out.
Thank you very much. Boritzer, thank you very much. One of the best speakers we've ever had.